Nerdvengers, good morning. We'll get started in just a little bit. If you could do us a favor and tap that like button. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Would we appreciate it. We'll see you soon. As we begin, we'd like to know, so let us know in the chat, do you believe Tom Holland when he says that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are not in the film? You tell us in the chat right now. Do you believe us? Or him? Do you believe him? So, Paul, I'm just wondering, do you believe Tom Holland?
No, not at all. I think he's a liar. I think he's a cheat, a scoundrel, and a bloody liar. And I'll tell you why. That lad is a liability. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put him in a room, and you tell him anything. You say to him before, look, mate, we're really close to locking this deal down. Don't f this up, yeah. Don't f this up. I won't do it. I promise I won't tell. You're good. They're gonna ask you, but I know you know. You're gonna keep cool. I will. I'll keep cool. He walks in. So guys, have you heard the news that Tobey Maguire's been signed? Oh no! It's like, mate, they've just got to a point now where they're not telling them anything.
Yeah.
Even the film he's in, Avengers Endgame. Do you remember that when he was saying he thought he was filming a wedding scene?
Yep.
For the funeral at the end.
Yep.
He hasn't got a clue what's going on. They give him the lines on the day. They say that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well,
he's a liar, and I hate him.
It's funny too because he literally said in the same interview, I have no idea. He said something like, "We're 8 weeks in, and I have no idea what the movie's about." Yeah. Right? So he's saying stuff like that, and yet he's also saying, like, no, they're not in it or whatever. But, ladies and gentlemen,
I also don't know.
We, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. You know, it looks like most of you in chat agree that he is lying. We have a video coming out on that actually later today, just talking about that exact thing. But that news was sort of even dwarfed, to me, or in my mind, by something that happened with Tobey Maguire. And that is coming from Daniel Richtman's Patreon, but it looks to be the news that Tobey Maguire has officially signed, right?
Yeah, I've got Daniel Richtman on Patreon, and he posts really accurate stuff quite a lot. The Godzilla vs. Kong trailer before that was even announced by Warner Brothers, a legendary, I think it was about 2 days before, he had the date and the time it was getting released as well.
Yeah.
So I believe him.
Yeah.
I don't actually know much about the guy, but he seems to have quite a lot of inside knowledge. And if you do have him on Patreon, you'll see that he posts quite accurate things just before they're announced. Like even the Sonic title, which has just been announced in the last 5 minutes, that was on about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It's called Sonic 2. So I don't know how he comes out with these crazy accurate predictions.
Pretty solid
but
stuff.
He knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think he's, I've sort of joked about him being Kevin Feige before because the degree to which he's accurate on a lot of this stuff is crazy. And it's funny because I had personally always sort of talked about him, but amongst other people too. Like at the time it would be like, you talk about Jeremy Conrad or like Casey Walsh or, some of these other people that you knew were sort of insiders, or even Roger Wardell, who we don't, know who he is, but
who is
right.
You?
Some people actually think that, Paul. Be careful there. But it's just, it's crazy. In that world, he sort of was just one person, but recently, and particularly around, I would say the Spider-Man 3 rumors, to me, he sort of leapfrogged into like a new stratosphere where like this guy is not only accurate, but like ahead of a lot of other folks. So it's crazy.
I think he's, I mean, it's like every scooper. You don't get everything spot on, but you can kind of tell when he's the first guy breaking stuff that he's got it right.
Right.
So I trust him quite a while. Like I said, I'm on his Patreon.
Right.
So I trust the lad. I don't trust Tom Holland though.
Right.
He talks absolute rubbish. And I tell you, one of the big problems going on at the moment with Marvel, there's two studios marketing stuff. So there's Sony, who's marketing things, and Marvel, who are marketing things. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked in a company with another company before, but if you do anything, the other company just does the opposite, so that people who work at that company can say, "Well, I have a job," and they're basically trying to validate their own job.
Right.
Is what they're doing.
Right.
Because if you just go along with everything that another company says, then the people at your company are going to say, "Well, what is the point of having you around?" As you don't make decisions and you just copy what they're doing.
Right.
So Sony are trying to market their own thing.
Yes.
And Marvel are trying to do it as well. And this is why, when the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer first came out, at the start of it, Tom Holland was like, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, don't watch this trailer. That was definitely a Sony move.
Yeah.
Or it might have been a Marvel one.
Yeah.
It was one of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
right.
It's you've got these two studios that are trying to market the same franchise that both have different ideas on how to do things, and Marvel are very tight-lipped about things. Sony haven't been in the past, but I feel like they're trying to be now. Yeah. But they're also doing things that completely contradict that. So the Latin Sony channel in December, it accidentally posted a fully edited together trailer that said Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland were all going to be in Spider-Man 3, and you wouldn't have to choose your favorite Spider-Man. So why are they paying? Because they paid to get that edited.
Yep.
Why have they paid to get that done?
Right.
And then for it to go online. Now, what I think happened in the case of that is that they wanted to announce the news straight away, and that's why we heard that we were getting an announcement in December.
Right.
And then Marvel probably stepped in and said, "Look, you little mug, there's going to be a surprise at the end of WandaVision, potentially.
Right.
Don't blow this."
Right.
What do you mean you've already posted the trailer? Yeah, so...
Yeah, it is... No, I think that's a totally fair point because... And this isn't the first time we've seen something similar to this where, Marvel and Sony maybe have different ideas about, what is... okay to talk about. I mean, the classic example is, of course, the Amy Pascal Sad Feige clip, which is still one of my favorite clips on the internet.
Yeah.
Where she's like, "Yeah, we're building this whole thing for Tom Holland," and he's like, "What?" You know what I mean? So yeah, they definitely have different takes on it. Now, here's another kind of, well, I guess just to sort of put a button on that exact thing. I agree with you that is 100% why we're getting mixed signals, that Sony has definitely indicated that they would like to leverage this thing to get people excited for the movie. I think potentially also to get people excited for what these characters might do outside of Marvel, over in like a Spider-Verse, kind of a thing. But Marvel clearly, I mean, we were saying this off air, but like Marvel is willing to put out a show like WandaVision that is literally sort of disliked and looked at side-eyed by so many people, and they're willing to just do that, banking on the fact that by the time the show evolves into what they know it'll be, the word of mouth will be so strong that it'll bring everybody back. I mean, it's pretty bold. It's totally different than Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sony would have told you the ending of the show already.
Yeah.
They would have put the trailer out and been like, yeah, here's the last episode.
Yeah.
So please watch it. Whatever you do, please watch. Because Sony don't have faith in any of their stuff. And that is why they've given full control to Marvel, basically.
Yeah.
They still do. I mean, they do have their hits. Obviously, Into the Spider-Verse was really good. I quite like Venom. I know a lot of people don't. But they just don't have faith in their own properties.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have really... I'm sure they keep getting told how to market things by Marvel after they've already marketed them in a certain way. I really think Kevin Feige has stepped in and said, don't talk about any of this ever. They're like, but we've already made the trailer and it's online.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, no.
And we leaked it. Yeah.
Yeah, don't just delete that. Delete that.
Yeah, and this is,
so, that's why there's so many different things coming out.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let me ask you this. We were talking about this too. I want to kind of get into this. I think it's interesting. Do we think it's possible, and you guys let us know in chat, we were talking about how it's pretty weird that on the day that Tobey officially signs, okay, and again, rumors, we don't know for sure, but this is what's being reported. On the day that he officially signs is the same day that an Esquire article comes out that makes major headlines, in which Tom Holland denies that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in the film. Do you guys in chat think that is a coincidence? And then, Paul, do you think that is a coincidence?
Yeah, probably. I'd like to hear what you want to say, though, because I'm not sure exactly what you talk like.
What am I implying? What is my conspiracy theory? So let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the hip-hop producer from the 80s and 90s known as Suge Knight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Manager of Tupac.
Yes.
West Side is the best side. Come over to the West Coast if you don't want your producers dancing in the videos.
Love it.
I know the lad.
My man. All right. Here's the deal.
Death Row, shouldn't he?
Yeah. So here's the deal. We call Kevin Feige over here. We have a nickname for him. We call him the White Suge Knight, because we think he's literally like behind the scenes doing things, pulling strings, making things happen. And so,
okay,
it feels like a pretty Feige move. Of course, it's just for fun. It's memes. It's conspiratorial. It's definitely not real Disney. Don't come at me. But it does feel like a very Feige thing for on the day that Tobey officially signs, for the news that's circulating on Twitter and online to be that he's not in the film. That's the most Feige thing I can imagine, actually.
Yeah, that is such a Feige thing to do. I'm going to take my glasses off because it's ruining.
And they were cool, though, dude. People were definitely commenting. They were like, yo, even Paul's got the glasses? Yeah.
They love me. I can do whatever. And people just... I spoil the ending of a movie and they're like, yeah, let them come back.
True.
True. Yeah, that does make sense. Feige, so he basically did the Investors Day as well, where he also said that Spider-Man 3 was going to be part of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Or words to that effect, didn't he? He did say something along the lines of Spider-Man 3 will be opening up the multiverse.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes,
and then
something
he did an interview.
Effect, yeah.
He did an interview about WandaVision when he was talking about how in the madness of multiverse is... The clue is in the title that is the direction that the MCU is going to be going from now. And then for Tom Holland to come out and say There's no Spider-Verse. There's
Right.
nothing like that. You're talking rubbish, mate. You're wasting my time.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of sad. And then the thing too, you know what I was
What's
thinking of?
he say when it does get announced? We're
What's
going to
up?
be like, I'm never trusting you again, Tom.
Yeah, I
When
know,
it-
right?
You can't believe a word the lad says. I don't even think he's working on Spider-Man. I think he's, Batman Beyond or something.
Ooh, that'd be a
If the
brutal.
rumors are true.
Yeah, that'd be like a big betrayal of his Marvel fans. Speaking of interviews and sort of awkward situations, have you seen the resurfaced interview of Evan Peters with the new X-Men cast being asked about coming into the MCU?
Yeah. And he's just sitting there like, I don't know, man.
Bro, they're all like giving their goobly glob actor answers where they're like, goobly globbly, Marvel's cool, goobly globbly, I like playing this character, goobly globbly. And Evan Peters is like,
Dead silent, yeah.
he's like the Homer Simpson meme where he goes into the bushes where he's like,
Yeah.
that's him.
Yeah. He knew. He knew.
That was years ago, dude.
Yeah. But do you remember the Far From Home interview with Tom Holland as well?
Yes.
Where the guy asked if they were ever going to get Tobey Maguire and
Bro.
Andrew Garfield on
Yes.
screen. And Zendaya and...
They
the
were
guy who
like
plays
this.
him. Yeah.
And they look at him like, is he going to spill it? Is he going to spill it?
He's like-
Yeah, dude. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Feige at the side with a gun.
Right?
And then Sony giving the thumbs up and Kevin Feige giving the thumbs down.
Yeah, dude.
And they're both
Exactly.
like punching each other.
That's why
Yeah.
she threw the sandwich at him. She was like,
Yeah,
she was like,
exactly.
I can't stand it. Ah! And then Feige was like,
Yeah.
and just munched it. Yeah. No, it's pretty wild. So I guess getting into the actual Toby thing with this scoop of him signing to, and by the way, again, we don't know for sure. And I did want to just address that, like, so, I got into a little like Twitter thing with Andy Signor recently. He was because where Andy stands in this, I believe, is that Toby is signed and has been signed.
Yeah.
I believe that's where he
Yeah.
stands. Yeah. And so like, I don't even necessarily disagree with that. And I was trying to explain this to Andy where I was like, well, I think something weird is going on where he might be signed, but there's actually multiple projects that they're trying to sign him for. And sort of to your prior point, this is two studios. So could be MCU stuff being signed and there could be Sony stuff being signed. So just to be clear for everybody, what Daniel Rickman is indicating is that he was not signed for Spider-Man 3 before. He is now signed officially, signed yesterday, and that there will be multiple suits, that he will have multiple suits for Spider-Man in this film. So, Paul, what do you make of all that exactly, including the suit stuff?
Okay, so there were rumors that he's going to be in Doctor Strange 2 as well, which is the whole why Sam Raimi's basically on board with that film.
Correct, yep.
And obviously Sam Raimi is working directly with Marvel Studios, whereas the Spider-Man stuff would be with Sony. So again, I think what's probably happened is that he's negotiated a contract with Marvel Studios to get paid a certain amount. Then he's went over to Sony and said, well, like Sony have tried to get him as well. And he's like, well, I'm getting paid this much for being in this movie, and you're only paying me this much. I'm not signing on.
Right, exactly.
And they kind of have to negotiate the contracts. But it's because it's two studios again, it's not straightforward. You've got to, if you get you want the same deal basically, or you want to kind of try and play them off against each other so that they both end up paying more.
Right.
And yeah, it's probably down to that. I think Signal might have been right in that he was signed for one studio.
Right.
But yeah, he's probably signed with Sony now. But we don't know.
We don't know yeah, exactly.
Just taking a step back from everything and looking at how things have gone on, the Sony and Marvel Studio thing. I mean, like even 2 years ago when Tom Holland was no longer in the MCU, apparently, they're just constantly like trying to trump the other studio in some way. And it will be causing issues behind the scenes because every actor's got to negotiate with both Marvel Studios and with Sony if they want to be in a Spider-Man film and a Marvel Studios film.
Right.
Like, I'm sure Doctor Strange being in Spider-Man was difficult to get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm sure there's all sorts of weirdness that's going on with that, So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so also too, there's something that happens in like the trades and with scoopers and people where like, okay, so for instance, just as an example, I believe I've had this experience before where a source tells me, a source is close to an actor, and they tell me, oh, he or she is totally doing this role. And that's according to the sort of more personal, intimate thing where basically like the way I would explain it is as if you were signing a contract, but you were negotiating, you might tell your friend or your homie like, no, I'm doing it, but I haven't signed yet. Like, you know, you're not going to like explain to them the minutia of the contract and negotiations. You're just going to say, I've got a contract to be Spider-Man or whatever, right? So sometimes sources and information gets sort of telephoned out there, and what's actually happening is way more complicated. It's like the agent has gotten Tobey to come talk and get fitted, and maybe there's even some contract that says even if you pull out, you'll get paid for a little bit of your time right now, but that's not actually signed to be the film. There could be all sorts of weird things that are going on, which was sort of what I was trying to explain to Andy too. You know what I mean? Is that even in the example of Civil War, there was a body double that shot most of Tom Holland's scenes, particularly in the action sequence. Yeah. This was before they even finalized the deal to acquire or to do that deal with Sony. So they could have had, I remember the Russos talking about this, there was a moment where they were getting really nervous because if that deal didn't go through, their like whole movie was going to need to get changed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So things just happen. But yeah, it appears that regardless, this is a good sign. And if this rumor is true, it indicates that we'll definitely be getting the Spider-Man 3 that all parties want, and that they've figured it out, which I think is really the key thing, right? Yeah,
yeah. And just to go back to what you were saying about working on things like if the actor pulls out, they still get paid. You obviously have pandemic clause right now as well. So you're like Chris Hemsworth's in ridiculous shape at the moment. Like if you look at that picture of him and Star-Lord, his biceps bigger than Star-Lord's head. Yeah. Now I'm guessing that it takes. Well, I know that it takes a lot to stay in that shape because I am in that shape, but you know, Chris Hemsworth's legally, contractually obliged to stay in that shape. Mm-hmm. So if your movie gets delayed for 6 months, you've then got to stay in that shape for 6 months, and you want to get paid for that because your life's going to suck because you're eating like dry chicken for every single meal.
Just so much food that you don't even like looking at it at some point. Yeah.
And things maybe not to that effect with Tobey, because I'm not sure if he's going to have the strict workout regime that Chris would have, but things to that effect of, well, if I fly out to a country to film and then filming gets shut down and I've got to stay there for 2 extra weeks whilst tests and vaccines get sorted, am I still getting paid for that and at this rate, or will it drop down to this? And it's just lots of complexities in the contract that you then got to work out with another studio, and that studio owns licenses to the character that you're playing, who then have to interact with other characters from another studio who have licenses that kind of and if it is the Spider-Verse, there's going to be a lot of characters in that, and lawyers are going to have to work out all of the fine details. Just getting Doctor Strange across, I'm sure someone has from Marvel Studios, a lawyer has to meet with someone from Sony and kind of work out legally like what they can do and where. So it's a lot of red tape that will be holding them back. Yeah, and that's why I think we're getting mixed messages on actors signing on one day and then the next day saying that they're not signed on, and then the week after saying, well, they are signed on now. So really difficult. And if Willem Dafoe, who's apparently been signed on now as well, he's going to be playing quite a big part in the MCU from what I've heard. Yeah. So that's got to get worked out as well. And I can imagine filming this movie is just a nightmare to all the legal hoops that you have to jump through.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of... the more I think about it, the more I'm like, dude, it's a miracle. Like, in some ways, the year off from, you know, the pandemic is kind of a miracle for this movie. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, number one, they were going to sort of try to streamline it, and I'm interested in what the film was originally going to be, because I do think that things changed and that the Michael Keaton Flashpoint thing really did change it for them, and they went over the top with this. But even still, there was still a plan to start to sort of, I think, begin to crack things open. I think maybe even some of the plans that Feige had for Quantumania and sort of Ant-Man 3 are being sort of brought into Doctor Strange 2, and he wants to go super hard on Doctor Strange 2. But you're absolutely right. Like, all of this stuff's super complicated, and it takes a lot of lawyers, legal minds, mental work, and also too, Hollywood has like different like guild things and weird stuff that they have to, do. So it's a pretty complicated process, but regardless, a good sign. Looks like it's going to officially happen, guys. So I think here's the next question. This is where it gets kind of fun. What do you think they mean by multiple suits? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be like, just the suits from over the years, like maybe the Spider-Man, the Raimi-verse one, and then you could get ones from the comics, like the original Civil War one, and the older Spider-Man versions. You could get the 60s one, and you could get the white armor one.
Yeah.
You could just do quite a lot. Spider-Man's got so many suits.
Yes.
And even like into the Spider-Verse, Miles and that changes suits quite a few times. He changes them twice, I think.
Yeah.
But you've got so many different things. No, he does it 3 times because he has the red mask with the eye holes in, and then he's got the black one with the hoodie, and then he's got just the black one. So maybe something like that. Maybe, he lands in the MCU timeline in a suit. It's quite bad. It looks a bit shit. He gets the crap kicked out of him. He has to build a new suit, and then they have a bit where it's a suit building scene.
That would be kind of cool.
Just saying, mate.
Well, also, like, I think that it's so cool that they set precedents with, Into the Spider-Verse, because it's kind of like the Batcave, right? Like, they sort of give, and a lot of people even thought that version of it was the Tobey version. Like, the one that dies, a lot of people were like, that is Tobey. So, it's interesting. I wonder if we'll see any parallels to that. But also, like, what's so cool is, like, Feige has the opportunity. Like, if you're going to bring Tobey back, here's what I think is cool. Just like what they said in the Flashpoint movie, where this will be a alternate version of the Tim Burton Batman, where that character just lives on, and we sort of see this weird version of that in a dystopian future. We can do that same thing with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and sort of suppose a very interesting path that he'll take that puts him at a spot where he's like an Iron Man type old man Logan-esque Peter Parker. I'd personally love to see him a little bit jaded, maybe, and a little, like, less Petery or something. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I'd like to see Tobey take a little bit more of a harder edge, and for Andrew to be the more really lighthearted Peter, and then Tom to sort of be, kind of in between. But yeah, there's all sorts of crazy suits that they could do, man. Like you were saying, like the original Civil War suit, like that Iron Spider would be pretty cool to see, with just like the straight red and the yellow.
Ben Reilly.
Loads. Even Spider-Man 2099, or like a version of that's like sort of a Tony Stark-esque, kind of extension would be pretty cool.
Definitely.
It'd be pretty sweet, man. Yeah. So I'm excited about all of that. I guess we could talk a little bit about Willem Dafoe too. I know we have you for about like 20-25 more minutes, right? And then you've got to pretty much get out of here. All right, cool. So we'll how about this? Let's talk about the Willem Dafoe kind of Norman Osborn situation, and then we'll do Q&A for like 15-20 minutes, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, cool.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think that's going to be good. I would actually like to see him as the main Norman Osborn in the MCU, and I think that he's perfect for the role. And I kind of hope that they do the original. Do you know the Green Goblin costume that they originally had for Sam Raimi's film?
No.
Where it was like prop. Oh yeah. So Google that. It looks a lot more like the comic book costume.
Nice.
And they had like an animatronic face and the goblin look to it. And I kind of hope that they go with that, rather than like the plastic green one that they used for the Raimi films. But I know that I kind of feel like the MCU have been trying to get Norman Osborn in for a while, because there was that Oscorp Tower post-credit scene in Far From Home, and I know that everyone says that it's not true, but I do believe that that was in the film originally, and then it got taken out.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
No, yeah, I've heard the same. Yeah, I've heard the same, and I think they've been, from what I understand, Feige has wanted Osborn for a long time, and he's like actually even at some points before the Spider-Man arrangement been more interested in getting Norman than even Peter. But now, obviously it's a little bit different, but the thing that I think's crazy about this is the big question is, will Willem Dafoe be the Norman Osborn for the actual MCU? And I think you and I have both heard similar things, that's what's being indicated, is that he's coming in for Spider-Man 3, but much like, potentially Michael Keaton or, other villains that are in the Sony movies, he's going to hold in the MCU universe and not in the Venom verse, kind of thing.
And what everyone forgets is we've already seen this, because J. Jonah Jameson is played by J.K. Simmons.
Yep. And
as much as everyone says that WandaVision's the thing opening up the multiverse, it's not. Far From Home already did it at the end.
Yep.
And no one had a problem with that. Everyone loved it. And I think that was kind of them testing the waters to see if they could just take the same actor and cast them as the same character in a completely different continuity. And everyone loved it. So I think they'll do it with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, and he'd be great, dude. He's such a good actor. Yeah. And the thing too, I don't mean to cut you off, but the one thing is that for me, as a comic book fan, Green Goblin's great, but Norman as Norman, especially around like Siege and Dark Avengers and that kind of stuff, man. Wow, like what a great character. And for Dafoe to not have to wear a mask and actually be able to facially act a lot of this stuff, whew, like, dude, we're in for a treat. Yeah. Like, this is going to be cool.
He's pretty much just a dark Tony Stark, really, isn't he?
Yes.
He could make loads of weapons for the villains. He can sort of be an anti-hero as well from time to time. And there's so much that they can do with him. And I'm like I said, what I heard was in Far From Home, they shot a scene with a stand-in actor that was Norman Osborn at Oscorp Tower, which the Avengers Tower had been taken over. But because of the legal situation that was going on at the time, where Marvel didn't have the rights to Spider-Man after that film, and they had to renegotiate the contract, they just scrapped the scene. And that was it.
Yep.
And it apparently had Mysterio in it as well.
Yep, and that's where the Grace Randolph, that's where that Grace Randolph scoop comes from. And a lot of people beat her up real bad on that, but I have heard similar things that was absolutely in there. And you know what else, Paul? I heard that there was a Tom Holland scene in Venom 1.
Venom, there definitely was.
Yep, and Feige cut that as well.
I'm sure John Schneider said that.
John Schnepp, yep.
Yeah, John Schnepp, sorry.
I remember. Yeah, that was like
Snyder on the brain.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, may he rest in peace, absolutely.
He said he basically did an interview where he said that was what was happening, but they made them cut it. And again, this is Sony warring with Marvel Studios, and I feel like Marvel wear the pants in the relationship, and they just say, "Look, mate, cut that out."
Exactly.
To tell you what, if that Tommy opens his mouth again, he gets the
100%. Hundo.
So, lots of legal ramifications with stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like we already know all this, and what's going to happen is that nothing's going to get said, and then next week it'll come out. Tobey Maguire is officially in Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
From a trade.
Right, exactly. From one of the Hollywood trades.
Behind everyone.
So, one more question before we get into Q&A for you then. Do you think then, now that he is officially signed, are they going to actually start teasing that out? Like, here's the big question.
Yeah.
Are they eventually going to have... They're eventually going to have to, like, let us know and put it in the trailer, or you think Feige's like, nope? Like, what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, because it's Sony, I think they will. I think Sony will edit a trailer so that it spoils it.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, I can't see that they'll spoil it. they're not. It's not the Endgame. Remember when Endgame trailers came out?
Yeah.
And you didn't really get any clue towards the plot at all. It'll not be that. It'll be like, we're going to the multiverse and everyone wants me dead, but I'm going to Doctor Strange and he's sorted it out.
Yeah.
But oh no, it's broke the multiverse and now there's all these other villains are coming across.
Dude, yeah. It'll be like Tobey Maguire coming out of his apartment. This like car pulls up. It'll be like
the rent guy.
Yeah. It's like, get in the car, loser. We're saving the multiverse. And he's like, all right. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's going to be sweet.
I kind of feel like they're going to tease that at the end of WandaVision, to be honest.
I'm actually interested in that as well. I'll tell you this. I've heard, and I continue to sort of tease this out, but I've heard that there's going to be like literally all the Avengers in WandaVision.
Okay.
Yeah, so like when Feige was shooting Endgame, he was like, all right, now that we're done with the crazy big-ass battle scene, real quick while I've got you here. And then shot some like WandaVision shit or something. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys, we're going to move into Q&A now. I'm going to start going through these super chats. We've got about 15 more minutes here with Paul, so we'll go through every super chat we can. And then I'll get into some of the questions in the chat as well. RTD Slayer says, with the $5 holla, says, wait, has he signed? And yeah, man, that's sort of what we've been talking about. The indication is that he signed yesterday officially for Spider-Man 3. Michael Bakar says, I bet Tom has known for about 3 years or so. What do you think about that? How long do you think Tom Holland has known that this is the general plan?
Quite a while, I would say, just from that Far From Home interview.
Right.
And they've always kind of... Marvel Studios is really weird with Tom because they don't seem that confident in him, which is why all the films that he's in, there's always like someone's overshadowing him.
Right.
And I think they've just kind of set that up. And then, yeah, so I think he's known for quite a while, and he's just got used to just denying it.
Yeah, I think he's definitely known for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, because even that one interview, you know, for the Far From Home thing sort of indicates that. But beyond that, when the Sony deal was breaking down, I remember he made some comments like, I was excited for what Marvel had planned. I'm excited for what Sony has planned. Like, it's all good or something like that. And it meant what I personally felt like that meant was Sony's just taken Marvel's plan anyways. So
yeah,
basically he was like, yeah, no, I'm still excited for the Spider-Verse. Essentially, I think is what he was trying to say, but he couldn't say it. So I think he's known for a while, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Big Stevie says, Josh, Theory, and Paul's channel were the first 3 I joined. Seeing all of you working together does this boomer heart proud. Now just get Paul on Nerd Theory. Right on, man. Maybe we can work something like that out, and we appreciate the love.
We'll have to sign the contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
Get all
See?
the contracts signed across.
Exactly. And then people will report that it's signed before it is. Jojo Beanbag says, not surprised by all the Toby drama. Have you seen Molly's Game? He played Player X. You know. Thanks for doing, yeah. I actually have not seen that. Is it pretty good?
Yeah, it's really good. So basically, there's a celebrity poker player played by the guy from Superbad, whose name I'm forgetting. Not Jonah Hill.
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera plays basically Tobey Maguire, who's a jerk, and everyone hates him because apparently Tobey Maguire is a real jerk in real life, especially when it comes to poker. And he just used to be really rude to waitresses and stuff. Dude, and Molly's Game.
I know, and I've heard a lot about it. It's such a shame. You know what? I feel almost bad for celebrities like Toby, though, because they grew up in a day and age where they could totally do that and get away with it. And now it's the internet age, and everybody just knows and talks about it. So he's probably in such an awkward spot. It's probably why him and Andrew and Tom don't get along and shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting, but hopefully they just get it worked out. I mean, the man's a professional. Look. Christian Bale might not be super great to get along with all the time, especially if you're fucking up his lights. So, look, man,
That's what he did in that video. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, my favorite.
Mason Graves says, not a fan of the Defoe decision. He was a great Norman, but he's too old. I wanted it to be Matthew McConaughey, but I trust Feige to do it well. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, to me, he still looks the same age, roughly. I mean, The Lighthouse, I think you did a good enough job in that to the point where I wouldn't mind him being Norman again. And the thing is, it's rarely them in the suit anyway, if ever. I mean, Civil War, we've already talked about how it wasn't really Tom Holland in that much, and yeah, they have doubles a lot of the time. Like the boys kind of hinted at it, when they were shooting that movie in The Boys.
Yep.
And A-Train was giving his like farewell speech to Homelander, and then it cut away, and it wasn't even Homelander; it was just a stand-in double for him.
Yeah.
They do that all the time on movies.
Yeah.
So you don't really need, like, Michael Keaton's going to go through the same thing. He's quite old, but I don't think he's going to be in the Batsuit that much.
No, yeah, and I agree, and I think that I think the reason I like the Dafoe thing so much is, number one, I'm just such a fan of those movies, and I felt like even though his Norman was really cool, they hit his face a lot, and I want to see what Feige will do. But also, like, he is old, but he's like grizzled and such an accomplished actor. The MCU really lives on the fact that it's secretly a soap opera. I don't really want to give away the secret, but it's secretly a soap opera, just like Marvel Comics are actually secretly a soap opera. This is kind of a thing this is a big secret. I don't want to give this away necessarily, but
it's a secret war.
It's a secret war, my friend. Interesting, yes. But essentially, the big moments are made when the characters we know and recognize, and we just know them, have conflict, and they come into conflict with other either ideologies, other characters, things of that nature. So Willem Dafoe, in just a few very important scenes, like, imagine the same way that Michael Keaton and Tom Holland in the scene before the dance with the gun and he lets Liz into the party. That scene is just dialogue, but it's literally just some incredible actors cutting up a scene, and it's a powerful moment. Dafoe has that same ability. He has the ability with his range to create some incredible scenes that really become the anchor in the heart for why we care who's winning these crazy bombastic fights. So, I don't know. That's my friggin' spiel on that, I guess.
And he's more of a mastermind, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Norman Osborn. He doesn't need to be. I mean, everyone wants to see him as the Green Goblin, but he doesn't need to be the Green Goblin. He can just send others after that. I mean, the Sinister Six was, there was always a mastermind in that, and the rest of them were kind of the ones who fought Peter. So they can always just do stuff like that. Just get him in.
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. Dan Larkin says, "Nerd-venge me! Nerd-venge me!" I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I absolutely will nerd-venge you. Aaron says, "Love to see Tobey play the Batfleck role." Ooh, pardon me. But could he pull it off? P.S. Josh, what's it like being in the presence of greatness? Two goats never stop. Well, here's how I mean, what's it like being in the presence? It's intimidating. It's like, my knees shake a bit, and also Paul not only gets to have his breakdown videos monetized, but they go trending. So it's rather difficult for me. Can't
I wish I could say the same. I don't even know who you are. Who are you? Ben from Nerds.
Ben from Nerd? What is this bullcrap?
Cool?
I need to talk to my agent. This is horrible. Nathan Tattoo says, "Josh, love the Heavy Spoilers team up always, and just got the 12 Pro 2. What's up with the Clubhouse invite, buddy?" Actually, I was just talking to Paul about that. I'm going to get Paul an invite, and we're going to do some Clubhouse stuff for sure. So appreciate that, man. Slow Mo says, "I think the alternate stone snaps opened up the multiverse. The energy from the alternate timeline created the hex, the 6 stones." Yeah, so that's a little bit of a WandaVision thing, but where are you currently at with that? There's this theory that the stones are being reformed. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it looks that way from the trailers as well, because there's the blue light that looks like one of the Infinity Stones, and there's also the Mind Stone in one of the trailers, or it might be the Soul Stone.
Yeah, like yellowish light, right? Or yeah.
You can't tell which one it is, but the commercials as well seem to be heavily based around them. So the toaster's kind of similar to the Mind Stone. The watch is sort of the Time Stone. Yeah. The Hydra Soak was a blue box, which looked like the Tesseract, and then there was the Lagos.
Yeah.
Clean stuff, which was like a red liquid, which is similar to the Reality Stone. So there's kind of a theory that whoever's behind this is also trying to get them to form the Infinity Stones again. So yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of weight to that. And obviously Wanda or whoever brought Vision back to life can do it because he has got the Mind Stone in his head.
Right.
And it also works because he used it on Norm and snapped him out of the hypnosis thing.
Well, you know what's funny? Yeah, you know what's funny about that is the more I think about it, it sort of makes sense in the way that, like, why would a character like Mephisto or Nightmare or whomever be interested in helping Wanda out to bring her husband back? Like, there's no benefit. Now, a lot of people had said that, well, maybe it has to do with the children and the fact.
I think that as well.
Yeah,
I think it's like a double.
I think that's definitely a part of it. But I would say to you, like, it just feels very Cabal-like or like very, you know, Doctor Doom-esque or some kind of machination there to be like, yeah, we could get Wanda to bring her husband back and thereby reforming one of the stones. Like that actually makes a lot of sense. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Josh I says Darth Vader versus Superman video was fire. I didn't even know it was up. What are you talking about? How did you see it before I see it? That doesn't seem right. I'm gonna yell at Theory now. Hope to see the animation soon. Y'all did a great job. Great to see Paul on the show again. P.S. Take my money. No, that's dope. I really didn't know that was out. That's
Thank
cool.
you.
That's cool. James, you says, what do you think about Wanda having a split personality and is both Agnes and Wanda? Whoa, never heard about that. Have you?
Yeah, I think Screen Crush did a video on it. I've not watched it all the way through, but I think they did. And I think it works. There's a theory that she's basically Gollum and that there's two sides to her. And yeah, she's kind of dealing with her emotions. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I also think that Agnes is Agatha Harkness and also a combination of either Mephisto or Nightmare.
Right.
So I think they're kind of three characters pushed into one. That's my current theory at the moment.
Right.
But I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, I think that's interesting with the split personality. I think it's definitely worth indicating that Agnes has a very important role to play here. You know, in my breakdown video, I was talking about how when in the scene where Agnes says, should we take that from the top? So what's interesting there is the kids stop crying, right? And the whole scene is predicated on the idea that the kids won't stop crying. So it feels so weird to me that Agnes breaking character stops everything. And then the kids don't begin crying again until Agnes starts to like laugh, like fake laugh with the nervous Wanda laugh. Almost to me indicating that it's like, it's not until Agnes is like, okay, we're back, that the kids start laughing again, right? Or crying again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. There's something weird going on there. I know there's a lot of maybe rumors that Agnes is being used by either Nightmare or Mephisto or something like that. And then I think the real key here is what is going on with souls, the dead, and the living in this place. Is Westview somehow the souls of people from maybe the soul world or the soul stone or something to that degree, right? Being trapped or brought back, and then within Westview, Wanda is taking those souls and manifesting bodies or placing souls in bodies or something weird like that might be going on. So it's really hard to say. But yeah, Agnes, Wanda, definitely something there for sure. And then Dan Larkin says I was referring to Defoe. Oh, okay, like in the mirror. Yeah. Have you ever read the end of Siege where Norman Osborn has been not the Green Goblin for so long, but then he snaps and goes back.
Goes crazy again.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. That would be really cool to see, man. So I'm hoping that we get something like that going on. Let's see if there's anything else just going on in the chat, and then I know you got to get out of here in a second. So let's see here. Mariana says, Agnes's nightmare, she got Wanda while she was sleeping in Barton's old barn. Tyler is the Grim Reaper. Yeah, possible. We've heard a lot of that, and the Grim Reaper is, of course, teased in one of the episodes, so who knows for show. Justin Simone here says, Mephisto in the original Infinity Gauntlet comic that Infinity War is based off, Mephisto was trying to manipulate Thanos into collecting all of the gems. That's true. Mephisto wants the gems. Paul, what do you think?
Makes sense, yeah. And there's so much devil wordplay in the show that I kind of feel like they need to have Mephisto in it. Because every episode they're like, the devil's in the detail, devil's triangle,
yep,
New Jersey devil,
yep,
stuff like that. So I feel like he needs to be in it.
Yeah, agreed. It's I think it's probably going to be one of those
I don't know
things.
if you will.
Well,
We did talk before the show saying that we actually don't think he's going to be in it, but there's just so many hints towards it.
Yeah, well, okay, so to your point, yeah, there seems to be a lot of hints towards the archetype of the devil, or like this idea of a demon or a devil. That is certainly established, and I think most comic book fans and Marvel fans are headed towards Mephisto, but sort of, I think one of the things you and I were talking about is all these fake leaks that keep talking about Mephisto. They seem so weird, and they seem to be making me feel like Mephisto's probably not coming, or at least not coming like full on, right? So if you think about it, even why am I blanking? Dormammu. Even Dormammu in Doctor Strange is like different than the Dormammu I remember from the comics. It's a very similar thing, but he's different. So maybe they'll do Mephisto, but just kind of change the character. But regardless, I would love it if whatever version of Mephisto they go with is trying to get the stones. That's a beautiful thing. That Ralph.
Well,
Ralph
a lot of people
Fisto,
think
like
that it's Evan Peters was going to play him as well. A lot of people are saying Evan Peters is actually playing Mephisto.
Correct, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't feel like the first X-Men that they bring across the multiverse, they're going to do a fake out on him.
Yeah, there's just that's exactly what it's more probable at this point. Like, would it be more probable that Feige does all of this stuff, hides it? Which, by the way, here's the thing that's crazy about the Evan Peters thing. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Remember, you and I talked about it. Remember, it was breaking. By the way, they fired that voice actor.
Yeah,
Paul, you got that voice actor fired. So
sorry, mate.
So so we were talking about this 2 weeks ago. Disney deleted all the stuff about the Evan Peters scoop in the in the Marvel Leaks subreddit, right? So Disney literally hid the actual leaks in what's supposed to be an open forum for talking about leaks. Do you really think they're going through all of that trouble if it's just Evan Peters that's going to end up being Mephisto? Like, if you just think about it, no. Like, there's no way. This is such a closely guarded thing. It's obviously a big play for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, totes my goats. All right, couple more questions, brother, and then I will let you get out of here. Again, I appreciate your time, man.
Thanks for letting me go, mate.
Oh, man, yeah, I know.
Finally letting me go free.
I know. It's like you gave me the signal a while ago, and I'm like, not yet. But we're almost there. Michael says, what if Westview is the convergence point for the multiverse? I think there could be something to that. What do you think of that? Like, could it be some kind of, I don't know.
So hexes in general in the Marvel Universe and things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel, they fly through hex points, don't they, to get from one point to the other. So that's like moving through space. So potentially a hex could also be moving through dimensions as well.
Wow. That's brilliant. Yeah. That's really cool. I remember, and I'm trying to work out and do a collaboration with Kind of Culty. He's another just great channel that like looks at all this kind of stuff deeply. But I know he's been big on pulling out the different places where the hex is in throughout all of the MCU. So I'll have to go back. So you're saying their version of warp speed or light speed, that's all hex stuff?
Well, it is, yeah, because they fly through those
I have to
hexes.
See that. Yeah.
And that's how they go into like warp speed. So it makes sense that if they can get from one space to the other in time, across space, that they can do it through dimensions.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really dope. I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. Okay. Let's. This last one here says, Andre says, any chance multiverse allows Spider 4 or The Amazing Spider-Man 3? I think both could happen. In fact, there's some rumors that Spider-Man 4 is technically being filmed right now with Spider-Man 3 as well, but that's pretty loose. I don't really know if that's true. But what do you think, man? Do you think we're going to get another Tobey Sony movie? What do you think's going on with that?
I think so. Probably, yeah. I think if he's popular and... I mean, were they not going to release a comic version of Spider-Man 4? And that they didn't do.
Right. Yeah, I think there was something to that. Yeah.
Got mothballed, and if it got mothballed, then that kind of makes me think, well, maybe they've got other plans for it. Yeah. Again, there's a lot of like movement over there. We were sort of speaking to the weirdness, but I think we're both on the page that I think Tobey's getting a big contract, probably coming back in some kind of a big way. But
he could also get a send off too, like a proper sort of old man Logan send off. So who knows? Who knows for sure? But yeah, folks, we're gonna leave it there. I'm gonna get out of here. Paul's gonna get out of here. And yeah, man, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Do you have anything real crazy going on you want the people to check out? Nerd Vengeance?
Just subscribe. Just go subscribe to the channel or whatever. Like the video, comment the video, share the video.
Yeah.
Thumbs down the video. Do it all.
Nice.
And just get me trending. Just, I don't care what you're doing. Stop it. Just get me trending.
Yeah.
Like now. Do it.
Actually,
I'm tired of waiting.
Every time that Paul gets trending, I get super jealous. So look, they love doing that and like pushing my buttons and like triggering me. So if for no other reason, then they will go over there and they will do that just
get your boy trending,
to get you trending.
Never ending.
Nice. It's the Heavy Spoilers channel, guys. If you haven't checked it out, and one of the mods could throw that into the chat or maybe link it into the Discord. That would be dope as well. All right, everybody, that's gonna do it for us here today. Thank you all so much. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. And we're